again to Yorkshire Gamer, and it's the monthly Wargames update, the most popular thing that I do on this channel, so welcome one and all. And it's been a busy month this month. I've managed to get a bit of painting done, bit of terrain building, and lots of things to see and do. Even got a couple of games in, so sit yourself back, next 20 minutes, half an hour or so, and we'll review what's been going on at Yorkshire Gamer over the last month. So, as always, we're going to start with the work in progress from last month's episode, and that was this Gringo 40s 28mm Garibaldi battalion. And I've done lots of these in the past, so you'll be very familiar with them, familiar with the figures. This is unit number 9 of red shirts. I've got 12 planned, and I'm hoping over the next few weeks I'm going to be able to rattle through the remainder of them and get them out. 6 figures per base, 60 by 60 bases, and as usual, regular listeners will know I extend the front bases to protect the bayonets, so that's done again on this one. These are metal figures from Gringo 40, very good quality. The only slight problem with them is some of the figures, the bayonets are a little bit weak at the joint with the musket, so occasionally on my units you'll see a infantryman with no bayonet, but that's just the way the figures are. But it's not a major problem. As you can see, all the figures on this unit are bayoneted up. So I'll just have a quick twist. So I've zoomed in on the command unit and also brought the figures round to face the unit. I always, if you watch regularly, you'll know I like to stagger the figures in the unit to give it a fuller look. Quite often when stuff are one behind the other, although technically rank-wise it's correct, it just doesn't look right to me. The unit looks sparse, so I like to fill up the frontage with this slight offset with the figures. So the Garibaldi stuff that I've got from Gringo 40, I've mixed the units up with different types of hats, but what I try and do is for each unit I try and have a uniform, in inverted commas, trouser colour, so that I can recognise individual units for when they go back into the box. So this one I've used a World War I brown for the basic trousers of the infantry. I've also gone for red with no piping, and then on the back of the kepis of these I've done a blue band. Now, I've not seen anything official about blue bands on Garibaldi Troop, but there are quite a lot of contemporary paintings out there that do have blue. So whether that's a fade in from green, I don't know whatsoever. But the main thing for me, with 20 units of these on the table, I'm going to need to be able to differentiate between them from a distance, and also while putting them back in the box. So that's a unit of Garibaldi, and I've got the remaining command stands that I needed to finish for my Garibaldi Mentana project. So let's have a look at those next. So first up are the French. There's the Papal French Army fought Garibaldi at Mentana. So I needed some French, and I've used Perry's Franco-Prussian War in the main to do those, and this is one of the command bases I have done. Unfortunately, the Perry's Franco-Prussian War range is still very sparse, so I'm extremely limited with the figures I can use. So this figure here came free with 3 boxes of plastic, French infantry when they came out, so that's very useful. And then the Fanion bearer is a I think it's from one of the Triple Alliance ranges, if it's not the one from the French Chasses de Cheval range. So that's that one. I've no historical reference for this happening, but when I am playing this game at a show and I'm playing it with people who aren't familiar with the period or the figures, a nice big flag on a command base draws their attention to the figures, and also to the people who are coming to have a look at the game. You can go, look, there are the French. So it's something I like to do. I've started to do recently on quite a lot of my collections, is just to have that flag on a command base. Visually it looks good, and it's also useful for game play. not particularly historically accurate, but there we go. So that's one of the two French commanders, and then the other French commander we've got is this one, which I rather like, and this is from the metal Franco-Prussian range, the Perry's Chasseurs Cheval. It's two of the command figures, and with this one there's no open hand to put the fanion in, so I've just kind of stuck it down the back of the saddle. Again, no idea, historically accurate, but this is the look I want. So these are on 80mm bases, which is standard size for my brigade commands, and the army commanders are on 100mm bases. So put that to one side, because we've got another brigade commander, but this one is for Garibaldi's unit, and this is Ninio Bixio. Good Yorkshire pronunciation of a couple of Italian words there. And this figure here, the command figure, is a named figure from Shaco 64, and the chap carrying the flag, again I explained the flags a minute ago with the French one, is a Perry's ACW plastic cavalry, and I've just painted that up in the later colours of Garibaldi's guides. They were red prior to Palermo, and then after Palermo they were grey. So I've put this one in the grey uniform carrying the flag, and I've got to say I love the way that that looks. Bang, you know, it's an Italian general, and if you know your uniforms and your history, you'll know exactly who it is. And if you don't, you can turn that upside down and it tells you. And then finally, the main man himself is Mr. Garibaldi. And there he is. I'm really pleased with the way that figure's come out. I've done the white horse with oil paints with the usual technique that I use, and I very rarely do white horses. It must be 20 years since I've done white horses this way, and this one I have to say I am very happy with. Let's just get some proper light on it. I think the figure from Shaco 64 is superb. It's bang on for Garibaldi. It looks the absolute business. And then I've got a couple of figures in the background painted up again as Garibaldi guides. This one is the same as the one we looked at previously from the American Civil War plastic cavalry set. And then this one here is a spare figure I had from the British Interventionary Force command pack for one of the cavalry units, and Garibaldi had a couple of units, the Dun Battalion, that wore this classic British cap of the 1850s. So that's the Garibaldi base, and let's get him in focus. Bless him. I've got to say, I'm really happy with that. So that's the figures that I've painted, and in the background there was a lot of stuff going on for Mentana, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in this episode. And let's just zoom out, shall we, because we're a little bit too big. So this is Charlie Foxtrot models. This is a model that they call the Hermitage, and it's rather nice, lovely little details there of a little bell in the tower. This cross here has come from another building that we're going to look at in a minute, but I think this really brings this out. And I have painted, it's a straightforward MDF building. I've stippled it, I've put plaster on it, I've put sand on it, and I've painted it. If you're interested in how I've done this, then there is a from box to table video on the channel about the processes that I've gone through to make this particular building, and this building is essential for Mentana. As well as that, we've got a granary. Now this starts with this lovely little bit here. So it's got these feet which raise the granary above the ground to keep the wheat both dry and rat free. And then this building sits on top like so, and that is the granary. And on the road to Mentana, just as you come into the battlefield area, on the map that I've got, there is a municipal granary. and I've no idea what it looks like. I've got no pictures of it. I've got no contemporary paintings of it. So I've gone with this, which is the model from Charlie Foxtrot Models. And gotta say, I really do like this. It's obviously probably Roman period, but Mentana is 15-20 miles northeast of Rome. So if we're going to have one anywhere, we're going to have it here. And you may notice the indentation there, which is where the cross came for the Hermitage. So that's the 2 Charlie Foxtrot models I've done. As well as those, I've got a couple of models from Empires at War. And again, if you want to see these being built, there is a separate video on the YouTube channel. I'll put links in the show notes for this, but they're easy enough to find, the last couple of videos that I've done. These Empires at War, if you've not seen them before, you can buy them as straight MDF kits or pre-painted, and this is the pre-painted version. So I'll just give it a twirl, and we can see there the rear of the building. And this is a Spanish coach building, but it works perfectly well for Mediterranean Italy as well, especially with the pan tile roof. And this is as it came out of the box. The only thing I've done differently with this is I've put an oil wash and a dry brush on the pan tile roof. Other than that, that is how you buy it. So if you're interested in that model, go and have a look at the video that I have done on the Empires at War buildings. And this is another one of theirs, and this is Roman Townhouse A, and as you can see, it's quite big, and it doesn't really fit on the camera from this magnification. I'm on ×1, so I can't go out any further, but this building here is one that I specifically wanted for Mentana as a proxy for the convent. Now there are pictures of the convent of Mentana available today, and all it has is a central courtyard. It's a hotel, you can actually stay there, so I really want to do that obviously in the future, but I was looking to scratch build it, but really it's not my forte, it's not my skill, and this building I think is the business, and it looked really good on the table at the weekend. So as I said, there is a video of me building this on this channel, so if you're interested in that, check that out. And really the kind of the how much section has been reduced massively, because all the 4 buildings you've just seen have all been bought, built and painted this month, ready for the Mentana game, which we'll talk about later on. So the how much section is cut down quite a bit this month. But anyway, let's have a look what's in progress at the moment. So this month's work in progress is a nice little unit of Franco-Prussian War chasseurs de cheval. There were only 60 at Mentana, so I've done a small, I'm going to represent them with a small unit of 6, and I'm using the Perry miniatures as bought. And so far all I have done, when it will come into focus, is oiled up the horses. So no work done on those as yet, and if you're interested in how to do the oil process, again there's a video on the channel. And 6 figures, think it wouldn't be difficult, but I've managed to lose one, would you believe? I've got no idea what it is. So this lad here is from the Triple Alliance range, so he is going to be a French trumpeter, or is it him? I can't remember. One of them's an imposter, but when I've painted him up, you'll never know. So only 6 figures with these. I have made up a couple of custom bases just by joining a couple together. These are 60 by 70. I've had to expand it another 10 mil at the back. Not necessarily for these troops, but for the Papal Dragoons, are a bit bigger with them being Gringo 40s. So I have extended the base on these just to make sure that all the figures are all the same size. So there's only this and 6 skirmishes left to do for the French, and then they are finished. The Papal stuff is already finished. So hopefully this month, or next month, December anyway, I shall get a troops on the table Troops on Parade video done for the Papal and French forces. I'm also going to do a tutorial for the French Franco-Prussian War with the last 6 figures I've got left. So that is the twerk in progress, but I'm going to sneak in a couple of other bits that I probably should have shown in the finished bit. Okay, so these are the Last Valley stuff that I got last month, and what I've done with them is these are the stone walls that I've got. I've just given them a bit of an oil wash. Just get some burnt umber or Van Dyke brown, really dilute it with white spirit or turpentine and just wash it on. And it's considerably cheaper than using strong tone, etc. For your thing. And then what I've done is then I've dry brushed the sand base, and I've added some static grass. And that's not a negative towards Andy's stuff. It's just this is make it blend in better with the baseboards that I've got. And these were all out for Mentana at the weekend, and the did look the business. I've also got some fields, which you may remember from last time, and what I've done with this is very similar to what we just saw there. I have given the base a wash of oil juice with the bits of walls and everything. It's just darkened it off a little bit, made it look a bit more realistic, I think, and then I've did a dry brush over the various areas and added in some patches, clumps of static grass, usually around the edges, but a few bare patches here and there. This is kind of a waiting for the crop spring type look for Mentana. Oh, bloody hell. Sorry, Mentana was in autumn. It's an autumn look. Get yourself right. And put these in, and the oil wash over the top of this ploughed field has really brought that out as well. And I've done exactly the same with the other one, and I think that's really brought them out. Great stuff from Last Valley, just tweaked a little bit to fit in with the Yorkshire Gamer terrain that I've already got, and can't recommend Last Valley enough. Absolutely superb. So there you go. That's everything I've done. Onto a very reduced how much. How much? How much? Well, not very much really, but when you think about the 4 buildings that were bought and painted and built between last month and this month, I've spent a bit. But this is the only thing I haven't talked about that I've bought them recently. And this is on the back of the interview, podcast interview I did with Dave Brown. And there are your guns. Warfare on the Age of Steam, 1816 to 1897, which obviously covers the Mentana period, which I'm currently using Pickett's Charge for. This is by Dennis Williams and based on the General de Brigade rule system. So no alarms and no surprises, as I've forgotten what they're called. It'll come to me in a minute. That pop group once said, Radiohead. It's as you would expect from anything related to the rule sets done by Dave Brown. It's been modified for the later period, post-Napoleonic, and whether I use these or not, or whether I stick with Pickett's Charge and just add a few modifications in, I'm going to have I've read through them once, nothing controversial in here, although the morale seems a little bit easy to pass. Other than that, perfect base on either to play these as they are or use them for some modifications to Pickett's Charge. So that's there are your guns. Pick those up from Calavear Books. What doesn't Calavear Books have at the end of the day? So a very reduced and compact and bijou. How much? A couple of weeks ago, I was lucky enough to head along to Steel Lard in Sheffield, held at the Patriot Games there, where I put on my Mentana game for the first time. I used a 12 by 6 table. I used my mats rather than my sculpted terrain boards. It was just really, we only had an hour to set up, so it was more a chance of chucking the stuff on the table and getting it going. But it was fantastic to have all the collection on the table. It's still not quite finished yet, but we managed to do a run through of the battle in the morning, run through of the battle in the afternoon, using slightly modified Pickett's charge rules, and Papal French had the advantage in the morning and the Garibaldi in the afternoon. We run it as 2 separate games. Probably could have done with like 3/4 of a day rather than half a day, but a full day would have been too much. And then I had to finish the photographs with this one, the glorious charge of the Papal Dragoons, who took out a unit of Garibaldi, which just happened to throw +1 for its firing. But there we go. On the rest of the Yorkshire Gamer channel, there's been a couple of from box to table videos on buildings that I mentioned earlier on, the Charlie Foxtrot models and also the Empires at War. So if you've not seen those already, bob down and have a look at those. There will also be the Dave Brown podcast going up very soon. So, as always, quick run through the scores through the doors as we go from October to November. Up 37 on the Facebook, 2370. Twitter's up 5. Most people are losing on there, so I still think it's a great community, Twitter. If you ignore the garbage going on around it, it's still a great wargaming community. So I'm sticking with it. Hope you do too. Instagram sneaking up just 10. YouTube's up another 44, which is nice and healthy. Podcast, as always, sneaking up. We're up to 329 now. When you think 2,000 plus minimum on the Podbean, you'd think it would have more followers, but I'm not complaining. Facebook group up another 71 to 1871, creeping towards 2,000, which is lovely. Podcast downloads 103,750. Just the one episode out this month. Another one in the bag, which should be out in the next couple of days. And then Blue Sky is up 165, up 11. Not sure about Blue Sky. It's quite concentrated, some decent people on there. Numbers aren't rising very quickly, but I think that's because it's an invite only, so I think it's going to be more quality than quantity. So let's see what happens on there. I've started posting again on Threads as well, just to see what happens, but I'm just duplicating posts I'm putting elsewhere. I really don't have time, unfortunately, to do absolutely everything. I am, unfortunately, again, off work a little bit at the moment. Got a little bit of mobility issue and might need an operation, but it's nothing serious. The bonus is that I will be able to paint more stuff. The negative is I won't be able to travel. I was hoping to go down to the Wargames Holiday Centre in a couple of weeks' time. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, but swings and roundabouts, as they say. So let's move on and have a look what else has been happening in the world of Yorkshire Gamer. So there we go, another month over. Sorry for the shaky cam. Some painting done this month after a few months of not very much going on. Hope to get cracked through quite a lot of stuff this month, fingers crossed. Signed up for the Analog Hobbies Winter Paint Challenge again, which starts on the 21st of December. So the next video update, I'll try and do it just before then, so you can see stuff I've got prepped, etc. No idea of a main project this year. I've got loads of stuff lying around and that I've already prepped for previous challenges that I need to get finished off. So enjoy your wargaming for December, and I'll see you again next month. Until then, Sithee.